weird noises, louder bangs like crashing, and everything just felt more, darker than usual. He thought about calling for his grandma. Grandma was nice. She didn't mind him having his nightlight on. She didn't even tell him off if he turned the big light on. So that's what he'd do. He'd be brave. He'd walk across the room and he'd ignore the monsters under the bed and in the wardrobes because they weren't real. He'd try the nightlight, and if that didn't work, he'd turn the big light on. He held his breath, wiped away his tears. "You're strong, Billy. Stronger than you think." And then he threw the covers off before he could change his mind and rushed across the room. He felt the cold carpet against his feet. He felt like the shadows were getting darker, like someone was chasing him. He felt his legs seizing up, felt the hair on the back of his neck rising. But he kept going, because he was strong. He hadn't been the healthiest kid. He needed insulin injections. Diabetes, they called it. Just a part of his life. He didn't worry about it. Didn't let it get to him. It was just how life was for him, and it didn't bother him. He never knew any different. The darkness bothered him more. The monsters bothered him more. He landed by the nightlight plug, put his finger against it, switching it off. Went to switch it on again, convinced the monsters were closing in. And that's when he froze. The light. It stayed off. It stayed dark. He shivered, thought he heard someone laughing behind him, or growling. He wasn't sure. He grabbed the nightlight with a shaking hand, yanked it out of the socket, struggled to put it in the next one, his hands shaking like mad, kept on going, kept on trying, The nightlight slotted into the plug. He felt happy, relieved. "It's okay, Billy. Everything's gonna be okay." He went to flick the switch on. His stomach sank. It was still dark. A power cut. That's what it had to be. A power cut at Grandma's, which was even scarier than the power cuts at home, because Grandma's house was old, creaky, spooky, and even Dad used to chat about there being ghosts here. He stood up, shaking, reached for the light switch. He wanted to know, wanted to see for himself. The light didn't come on. He stood there in the darkness, and suddenly Billy felt very lost. He felt very alone, and he felt like he was in danger. He needed to get back to bed. He needed to hide beneath the covers. He needed to... Outside, he heard another bang, then a scream. He turned around, and he swore he saw something over by the bed, a dark figure sitting there staring back at him. He wanted to scream. He wanted to cry out. But instead, he just ran away, ran out of the bedroom door, ran down the dark hallway towards Grandma's bedroom, ran as fast as he could as wee trickled down his leg. He had to be quick. He couldn't look back. He just had to get to Grandma's room and he'd be okay. He'd be safe. He ran into Grandma's room and he saw her lying there. The curtains in her room were open. The moon was shining in, and there was something else, too, a weird green light from the sky, making the room look like aliens were here, like they were about to abduct everyone. He looked over at Grandma as she lay there on the bed, a dark covering over her eyes to keep the light out, something Billy didn't understand why anyone would want to do. "Grandma," he said, shaking. The room smelled of hairspray, perfume. All around, weird dolls stared back at him with their big, wide eyes, weird dolls she'd collected. He walked further towards her. She didn't seem to be snoring, which made him worry, made him scared. "Grandma," he said. He walked right over to her, right to the side of the bed. She was quiet, so quiet. He looked around, swore he saw that figure again in the darkness, following him, chasing him. And then he looked back at Grandma, and he knew he needed to help somehow. "Grandma, please," he said, reaching for her eye covering. "Wake up! Wake—" He pulled her eye covering away, and he froze. Grandma's eyes were rolled back.